Space is a dangerous place, and sometimes not even the advanced technology of the Star Trek universe was enough to overcome the threats that lurked in the final frontier. Whether in battle or in an accident, Starfleet vessels were destroyed from time to time, and others still went missing, never to be seen or heard from again. In some cases, the mystery of these lost ships would be solved years later, while in others, ships that were lost in space were never found. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 6 such Starfleet vessels that disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host, Captain Jack. If you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then hit that subscribe button for more stories from the final frontier. Click the link in the description to join our Discord server or find us on social media. If you're interested in supporting the channel, click that join button for some extra perks and to chat with the Trek Central crew. Okay, engage. For our first lost ship, we're going to go all the way back to the earliest days of the Federation history and look at the case of the Columbia. This was technically before the Federation. The NX-class Starship Columbia, registry NX-02, was originally built for the United Earth Starfleet prior to the formation of the United Federation of Planets. Together with its fellow NX-class starships, the Columbia is one of the first human craft capable of reaching Warp 5, making a huge leap for human space travel technology. After a lengthy production process that was complicated by engineering issues and crew shortages, the Columbia was finally launched on November 30th, 2154. Columbia served with distinction alongside its fellow NX-class starship, Enterprise, and in Star Trek's extended media, it's established that Columbia fought in the early stages of the Earth-Romulan War, a conflict that would lead to the creation of the United Federation of Planets. According to the Star Trek Destiny novel, Gods of Night, the Columbia was crippled in a skirmish with Romulan forces in 2156. It was able to escape destruction, but this came at a high cost. More than half of her crew were killed, and the vessel's communication systems, all its onboard shuttle pods, and its warp drive were damaged beyond repair. Considering a rescue by Starfleet to be unlikely, Columbia's commanding officer, Captain Erica Hernandez, ordered the ship to travel at near light speed to what Columbia's sensors determined to be the closest planet that was likely to possess habitable life. For Columbia's crew, this journey took 63 days, but due to the effects of time dilation, it took 12 years by the standards of the outside universe. Eventually, Columbia arrived at its destination, the planet Erigol, the homeworld of the ultra-advanced Kalar. The Columbia's crew asked the Kalar for assistance in repairing their vessel, but the Kalar refused. They were isolationists who worked to keep themselves a secret from the outside galaxy, and to preserve their secret, they forbade the Columbia from leaving the planet. Captain Hernandez decided to comply with the Kalar's demands, but this didn't sit well with much of her crew. Many of the survivors aboard Columbia were MACOs, or personnel of the Military Assault Command Ops, a branch of the United Earth military, who had been assigned to Columbia to help fight the Romulans. After Captain Hernandez agreed that Columbia would not attempt to leave Erigol, the MACOs, led by Major Foyle, staged a mutiny. Through a campaign of sabotage and hijacking, the MACOs planned to co-opt the Kalar's advanced technology to get the Columbia back to Earth. Instead, they caused the Kalar's technology to become dangerously unstable, destroying the planet of Erigol and causing its sun to go supernova. The breakdown of the Kalar's subspace harnessing equipment also caused a number of subspace tunnels to open up around the planet. However, and in a desperate bid to escape the supernova, the Columbia and its remaining crew flew into one of these tunnels. Radiation inside the subspace tunnel almost immediately killed all of the remaining Columbia crew. However, the now abandoned Starship Columbia ended up crashing on a planet at the far end of the subspace tunnel. While all of this was going on, the Columbia was noticed as missing by Earth Starfleet. Its disappearance was a mystery. All Starfleet knew was that the Columbia had last been seen near Tau Ceti. As the Earth Starfleet became a Federation Starfleet, the mystery of the Columbia endured, and it wasn't until centuries after the Romulan War that Starfleet would finally learn the truth. In 2373, Captain Sisko and the crew of the USS Defiant discovered the wreckage of a Columbia on a desolate planet all the way out in the Gamma Quadrant, where the derelict ship had been dumped by the subspace tunnel all those years ago. After 200 years, the mystery of the Columbia was finally solved, though unfortunately, this came far too late to help the ship's crew. Next up, we have the USS Franklin, another early human starship. The Franklin, registry number NX-326, was a Freedom-class starship, the first human vessel capable of reaching Warp 4, designed and built before the time of the Federation. It was actually even older than the Columbia, launching sometime between 2145 and 2151. After the formation of the Federation, the Starship was rechristened the USS Franklin and entered service in Starfleet under the command of Captain Edison. If you want to learn about the details of the Freedom class and the USS Franklin, you can check out our dedicated video here on the Trek Central channel. Now Edison, a former Mako who had fought in Earth's wars with the Xindi and the Romulans, never really adjusted to his role in Starfleet. He saw himself as a soldier, and he especially disliked playing diplomat with humanity's former enemies. Nonetheless, he served the Franklin well for 4 years, until in 2164, the ship disappeared on a mission in the Gagarin radiation belt. I should also say, for a little disclaimer here, this apparently takes place in the Kelvin timeline. Starfleet searched for the Franklin, but the ship was never found, and like the Columbia, its disappearance became a Starfleet mystery. Some speculate that it had been captured by the Romulans, while other theories claimed it had been taken by a giant green hand out in the depths of space. In reality, the Franklin had fallen into a wormhole and crashed on the planet Altamid, an abandoned planet that had once been home to a highly advanced ancient species. Most of the Franklin's crew perished due to eating poisonous local flora after the ship's survival rations ran out, and those who survived came to believe that the Federation had abandoned them. In particular, Captain Edison, who already harboured a dislike for the Federation, became hell-bent on revenge against it. In the Prime universe of the Star Trek universe, it's unknown what became of the survivors of the Franklin, or if Starfleet ever learned the truth about it. In the parallel Kelvin timeline, however, Starfleet learned the truth over a century after the Franklin's disappearance, when Edison, now known as Kral, lured the USS Enterprise to Altamid as part of his plan for revenge against the Federation. The Enterprise crew ultimately commandeered and repaired the wreck of the USS Franklin, which they used to escape the planet Altamid and stop Kral. In the process, they solved one of Starfleet's most enduring mysteries, and the file on the Franklin's disappearance was finally closed. Our next lost ship is the USS Defiant, not the one from Deep Space Nine, but the original Constitution class USS Defiant, registry NCC 1764. Active in the mid-23rd century, the Defiant was built at Tranquility Base on Earth's moon, and according to the expanded media, it was the last of the original Constitution-class starships to be built. Launched sometime in the early 2250s, the Defiant served Starfleet well into the 2260s, accomplishing many missions before it was lost. In 2268, the Defiant responded to a distress call on the edge of a Folian assembly space, an obscure and secretive neighbour of the Federation. It was caught between universes in a space warp. Proximity to this anomaly caused the Defiant's crew to go insane and wipe themselves out, leaving the starship abandoned. After Starfleet lost contact with the Defiant, Captain Kirk and the USS Enterprise were dispatched to recover the missing starship. They successfully found the Defiant, but they arrived too late to save its crew, and they were unable to get the ship free of this space warp. To make matters worse, the Folians arrived on the scene and opened fire on the Enterprise for trespassing on their territory. The resultant firefight created a hole in the spatial interface the Defiant was trapped in. The starship was forced to go through to the other side of the interface, ending up in another universe. As far as Starfleet was concerned, this was where the story of the Defiant ended, but this lost ship would end up having a major impact on the universe it ended up in. This was none other than the Mirror Universe, an alternate timeline in which, instead of a Federation, the dominant power was the Terran Empire, a bloodthirsty, expansionist, and strictly hierarchical human civilization. As it turned out, the Defiant had been intentionally lured into the Mirror Universe by the Mirror Universe's Folians, who had brought the ship back in time to the 22nd century. The Folians attempted to strip the Defiant of its advanced 23rd century technology, but the salvage operation was discovered by the Terran Empire. The Terrans dispatched the ISS Enterprise, commanded by Captain Forrest and First Officer Jonathan Archer, to investigate. Shortly after arriving at the dry dock where Defiant was being stored, the ISS Enterprise was destroyed by the Folians, but Archer and part of his crew were able to beam aboard the Defiant shortly beforehand. They commandeered the Defiant, and after testing its advanced weaponry in a battle with the anti-Terran rebels, Captain Archer realized that the ship could be his ticket to the higher echelons of Imperial power. Before Archer could make good on his ambitions, however, he was assassinated by a member of his crew, Hoshi Sato, who seized control of the vessel. Sato used the Defiant to usurp control of the Terran Empire, becoming its new Empress. Okay, back in the Prime universe, another ship named Enterprise was also lost on a mission. The USS Enterprise B. The Enterprise B was the third Federation starship to bear the name. This Enterprise was an Excelsior-class starship that was commissioned in 2293. At the end of the 23rd century, after which it was launched from a dry dock above Earth. The ship was heir to one of Starfleet's proudest legacies, but the B met with misfortune pretty much right away. For example, on its maiden voyage, the Enterprise was caught in an energy distortion known as the Nexus. Though the ship managed to escape with minor damage, the famed Captain Kirk, who was aboard the ship as a dignitary for his launch, was sucked out of a hull breach and believed to be dead. Despite this tragedy, Star Trek's expanded media tells us that the Enterprise B went on to serve Starfleet with distinction for decades. In the end, however, the B had the misfortune of becoming one of Starfleet's lost ships. In 2329, a year after rendering aid to Bajoran refugees fleeing the occupation of Bajor, the crew of the Enterprise B was unexpectedly ravaged by an unknown illness. Not long afterwards, according to the USS Enterprise owner's workshop manual, the ship went missing. Unlike with other lost ships we've discussed so far, what happened to the Enterprise B is actually a complete mystery. Starfleet never found it, and neither canon nor the expanded media actually establishes where the ship ended up. Another 24th century lost ship is the USS Hera. According to the expanded media, this ship was a Nebula-class cruiser with a registry number of NCC 62006, and it was active in the mid-24th century. Not much is known about the Hera, except that it was commanded by Captain Sylvia LaForge, the mother of George LaForge, who's the chief engineer of the famed USS Enterprise D. In 2370, after departing Deep Space 3, the Hera suddenly disappeared 300 light-years from the planet of Marjan 7. Starfleet mounted a massive search effort in hopes of finding the ship, dispatching the USS Excelsior and the USS Noble to hunt for it, but the two vessels were unable to find any trace of the Hera. After days of unsuccessful searching, the Hera was declared lost with all hands. The Hera's disappearance comes from the Starship Next Generation episode Interface, which focuses more on Geordi's difficulty coming to terms with his mother's disappearance rather than the Hera itself. Canon never established what exactly happened to the Hera, but the expanded media did. According to Star Trek Online, Starfleet learned in 2409 that the Hera had been ambushed and destroyed by Orion pirates. Only wreckage remained of the Hera by the time it was finally found. Lastly, we've got one of the last mysterious disappearances to talk about, the loss of the USS Tiananmen. The Tiananmen was a Miranda-class starship, and though it's unknown when exactly it was commissioned, at the latest it was active by 2368. In 2373, the Tiananmen was lost while on patrol along the Cardassian border, the third Starfleet vessel to be lost that week. It was believed to have been destroyed by the Jem'Hadar. However, regardless of whatever caused the Tiananmen to go missing, it apparently escaped, as the ship participated in the first Battle of Chintoka a year later. You could argue this means the Tiananmen wasn't really a lost ship, but its disappearance and unexplained reappearance, it's certainly mysterious at least. So that's our look at 6 lost starships throughout the history of Starfleet. We hope you enjoyed it, and as always, if you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.